The people that pass on don't want you to be miserable,
Yeah.
you know? And so I see it that by being happy, by going on and being happy and experiencing joy and uh, being involved more so with my other children's lives and just giving, I decided instead of being angry and bitter, I'm just going to take the love that I have for him and just give more love to my other kids.
That post you made today about you said something in regards to having a fortune of having misfortune.
Yes.
Yeah, that I don't know if that could have came at a better time, and it hit me a certain way because I feel like talking about the conversation of death, I've always looked at it that way, and I feel like you have that option to look at a loss or any kind of trauma, where the hell we go through in life, in that way. And I've always said that I feel like even though as much as that shit sucked, it's changed my life for the better. Obviously, I would choose my dad over any lessons that I've learned, but there is
Sure.
something in in misfortune that can either make or break us. And I maybe I was misunderstanding it, but that's just the way I saw it. That there is there truly is a fortune in going through whatever misfortune you may have in your life.
Oh, absolutely. That's what it's about, because we all get so upset and aggravated with life, and we think, oh, the world hates me, God hates me, the universe hates me, and it's like none of that is true. You're all these experiences, it's like Shakespeare says, whether it's good or bad is the thinking that makes it so. And we can either take our experiences and learn from them and grow, or we can become bitter and upset. And there's no reason to become bitter and upset. I mean, just life is life. Death happens, life happens, heartbreak happens. It's all part of it. It's all part of it.
Yeah, and that's I feel like it's I got we all got shit going on, but I feel like when you're in the moment, it always seems I don't know, it always seems easier said than done. So is that something that were you always like that in regards to, I guess maybe is it acceptance of this is the way the shit is, and then just continuing on? Like, how do you get to that point of just being like, this is it, this is life, I'm gonna get through it anyway?
Yeah, my childhood, I went through a lot of stuff. I had a great grandfather that I knew when I was younger that I used to visit all the time, and he died when I was younger. And then within a year, I lost my grandfather, his son. I was only about 12, and we've been through our house is burned down twice in my childhood. Um, so I've gone from literally losing everything twice in my
Jesus.
childhood. And I've also, I kind of came into this world under a sort of a cloud, because I had an older brother who was killed in an accident at school, and I was the next child born after him, and so my middle name is Douglas. I was named after him, and so I kind of came into the world with that. And so there's this death and just misfortune just seemed to just follow our family. But I never felt unfortunate. I never felt like I was deprived. I never, I felt sad for the loss, but I never felt like, you know, uh, woe is me, my life is terrible, even though I had lots of excuses to feel that way. But I just never did. I just saw that this is life. This is what it is. This is what happens. People die, people have accidents. Um, we all go through this, and so at a young age, I just kind of learned to roll with the punches, and uh, it seems to be something that a lot of people just don't get. So, what to me, it was a part of my childhood. It was how I grew up.
Yeah.
So as I get older and I see all these people miserable and feel terrible about everything, I'm like, the world needs to lighten up a little bit. I mean, this whole life thing is pretty amazing. We should be embracing it and just enjoying. It's like I tell people, don't get upset about their loss. Be excited about the fact that you had them in your life at all. I mean, to have gotten to know my great grandfather. I mean, my great grandfather. Uh, is most people never even have that opportunity, and I got to have him for 10 years and go visit him all the time, and to have had that personal experience with him, I consider that a blessing. And it was really sad when he died, but I just enjoyed the fact that I got to know who he was. And then when my grandfather died, kind of the same thing. It's like, he had kind of a hard life, but he was there at a time that I got to know him. When he was his life was ending. He knew it. He had all kinds of health problems, and he was drinking himself to death. He knew he was going. He kind of wanted to go, I think. And having that opportunity, kind of sit and listen to him talk about life, it gave me a better appreciation to enjoy my life, to not become bitter and let it all drag you down.
Yeah. Well, listen, bear with me on some of my questions. I don't have preloaded questions. I kind of go with the flow. So my thought when you said that, it seems like it's just a perspective shift most of the time. I feel like you have such a beautiful perspective through your experiences that I feel like that's from a big message I hope people would take from this. But what do you think it is for people that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you just said you had a good experience. It seemed like you had a loving relationships. You had a lot to be, feel like you were blessed for. But what about someone who loses someone when maybe, obviously there's love there and they love the person that died, but maybe they had some rough patches. And then, how sometimes that could turn into regret and guilt for not doing this or that. So how would you say some people can have that same perspective of a blessing because you had this time with this person who passed? But what if that time they had was tumultuous? Does that make sense?
Um, yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's like you have the regrets, thinking that relationship could have been better if you had done something, if you had tried harder or whatever. Um, but instead of, you can't change the
Mm,
past. You can't, and part of the anxiety and depression that we experience in this life is our desire to try to go back and fix everything.
yeah.
You know, you have to always look forward. So instead of getting upset about what you experienced, um, you take that experience and you say, you know what, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to take people for granted. I'm not going to let animosity and these regrets drag me down. I understand better how to live a relationship. So it's like, in a way, you repair the relationships of your past by being better at relationships as you go forward.
Right.
Because you've learned, you know how to do it wrong, so now you can do it better. So now you're, with children or just new people that you meet, because of your bad experiences and because of the mistakes you've made, now you're in a perfect position to do it right. And that's how you can correct the past is by not making those same mistakes as you go forward. So you're blessing people's lives because of the mistakes that you've
I
made.
love that. And that's kind of what you mentioned this morning in your post, I guess the fortune of misfortune. And that's kind of turning the misfortune into a fortune. Yeah.
Yeah,
And, you said
yeah.
something, I guess, the one that got me interested. I mean, I love your work. I think you're brilliant. But there's one thing,
Oh,
of
thank you.
course, there's one thing you posted, I don't know, it was like a year ago. You were specifically talking about death, and you may have spoke about death a few times. But you specifically mentioned, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. And I feel like that's just, it's a basic principle that we've been taught for forever. And does
Hmm.
that give you comfort? And I bring that up because when people ask David, what do you think about the afterlife? What happens after? And I always go back to that principle, saying, I mean, we can't be created or destroyed. We're just, we're going back to energy when we are energy, but we're going back to a different form that maybe that we were prior. Does that offer you a sense of peace in knowing what may or may not happen when we pass? Because to me, it kind of scares the shit out of me. Because I'm like, if we just go back to like, I know, like I said, I know we are energy, but at the same time, if we're just gonna be floating around for eternity like that, that's what freaks me out more than dying, if that makes sense. But how does that make you perceive death with that belief, if I have it correctly?
Well, and like I said, as you said, energy. You can't destroy energy, but energy does change. I mean, it does transform. It does grow in strength and such. And I think that our experience here is an enhancement of our experience beyond here. You know, there's a reason. There's got to be a reason that we're here and that we're having this experience.
I hope.
And whether you believe it's from myself, from a god, or if you think it's just a big cosmic accident that we're just fortunate to be here, regardless, we are here. We are having this experience, and we cannot but grow from it. And it gives me uh, uh, a lot of consolation when when I know people have passed on, that they're not really gone. They've just transformed into something else, and that when we move on, we are going to have those opportunities to regain those relationships. I feel strongly that is the case.
Yeah, I feel like that's comforting in some sense. If I believe something like that, which I do, that I'm gonna reconnect with my father. I mean, that sounds pretty ideal. But so
Hmm.
do you? So with the idea of energy, do you believe in the fact like that they can contact us in some odd way, or do you think there's a disconnect there?
Um, I think there's a disconnect there. I think that you move on beyond here, and I think these seances and trying to connect with the dead. I think that's just. I guess some people find comfort in it, but I don't. I don't see how it can, because you're in a way you're trying to draw them back in,
And they're not. Yeah.
and I don't think it's necessary. I think you just let that go, and then when the time comes, you have the relationship you need to have. And this idea of closure or something, I guess if it makes you feel better about yourself, but I think a lot of that, I think it's just cold readings. I think a lot of it's just nonsense.
Yeah. I mean,
I
that's
think it's
fair.
just people taking advantage. I think it's just people taking advantage of other people's vulnerability, and I dislike that whole thing entirely.
Yeah. It's
So,
interesting.
because yeah, Einstein talked about how we only have access to like less than a half a percent of what's going on around us. I mean, we have such a limited capacity to understand everything that's taking place there, even
Right in
perceive
front
it.
of us. You're saying like right in front of us. Yeah.
Yeah, right here. Just all kinds of energies going on, that we just don't see. Some will say it's alternative realities or whatnot, um, but we're so limited in what we're experiencing. In a ways, I feel like we're the ones who are dead. We're the ones who are disconnected with the whole source. And then when you pass on, you reconnect with that source.
Hmm.
So when you think of it that way, this is how I do. I look at it that we're the ones who have been separated for whatever reason, and we're having this experience. And then when we die, we actually just go back to that ultimate reality, to that ultimate experience. And so you really shouldn't be upset and depressed that somebody dies, because in reality they're becoming more
Yeah.
alive and moving on.
Yeah, it brings me back to something I thought of yesterday. I was talking to my buddy, and I don't, I'm on a similar wavelength. I think in regards to what I believe what happens after, like we just discussed energy. But I was thinking, like, if we pass, well, I mean, when we pass, like, what if it's like so much better then, and we've been agonizing this whole time, being fearful of death, and once we get there, we're like, oh, this is amazing. I should have offed myself sooner. So it's like, you know what I mean? So I always wonder like what this journey really is, and I'm curious what you think. Like if we're just gonna go back to where we were, what was the point of like why are we here? Like is it to get to a higher level of consciousness the next when we return? Like what do you think this is? What the hell are we doing?
Well, yeah, I think that um, being able to come here where we get to experience ultimate free will, as it were, and by that I mean we're separated from, in my thoughts, we're separated from God. And as long as we're in the presence of God, or the all-knowing universe, whatever you want to say, and that there's a true understanding of what's right and wrong, you never really grow, because it's always very prevalent what the answers are. It's just all right there. And so here we have this situation where we can come here, And we can truly understand the difference between right and wrong because we can do both. We can choose to do good for the sake of doing good, or we can choose to do bad because it benefits us. I mean, we can really look at life as just being you know, a free for all, and you can come here and get away with whatever you want to.
Mm.
And in this life, you can. I mean, you really can.
Yeah.
You can do really horrible, terrible things in this life, and many do. Many, it's like, hey, we're free. I mean, true free will means that you're free of consequences.
Mm.
And if you're in that, if you really truly believe that you are free of consequences and that you could do whatever you want, that is ultimate freedom. And what do you do with that freedom? How do you behave? Do you take it with respect and see that it's a great responsibility to do the right thing, even though you can do something horrible? Or do you think, hey, this is all for me. This is all about me, me, me. I can do whatever I want. I can lie, cheat, steal, take whatever I want, do whatever I want, screw people over. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's all about me. And so it's really this opportunity to kind of see who we truly are
Right.
when we're separated, from the ultimate reality. And it can be a humbling experience,
Jesus, yeah. Sorry, I keep saying Jesus. I just said it again, saying it again. But the whole idea of no consequences to me, it's like a synonym for a sociopath. But that's a whole other conversation. Do you believe do you think
Yeah.
there's no consequence like after this? Do you think the consequences follow us?
Oh no, I do believe there are
Right.
consequences, sure, but the thing is in this life, you can seriously, I mean, there are many people who have gotten away with horrendous, horrible
Yeah.
things. Because in this life, you can say, oh, look, there's no God punishing me. If I could trick other people into thinking I didn't do anything wrong, I can get away with it. I can make lots of money and buy people off and buy off authorities and do terrible things. I mean, you can do, if you decide that that's what you believe, that this life is just for you to get whatever you want and that you can avoid consequences if you're smart and rich and powerful enough, you can do
Right.
it.
Right.
You can really, if you really, and when you're in a position like this world, you can pull it. If that's the kind of life you want to live, you can do it.
Yeah. You think those people that are living that way are in for a rude awakening when they cross over?
Oh, absolutely,
I hope
absolutely.
I hope so because I don't want
But
to end up in
and
the
they're
same space as
thinking,
them if they're going to continue that life of no
yeah,
consequences. I don't know. I might stay here a little longer.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. No, I do think that uh, there's something greater. And I think part of this life is learning and understanding that and accepting it and knowing it and truly making the choices to be good and do good because it's just the right thing, not because you are trying to win brownie points with a guy in the sky. I mean, that kind of a silly notion, really.
Mm.
But just by being a good person, becoming a good person when given the opportunity, that's an amazing thing.
Yeah,
It's an amazing
I
opportunity.
feel like I don't. I mean, this is the first time we kind of met. Like, I guess you call it meeting. And if I'm following you and watching you, you just seem to have such a center. I don't know if it's can't think of the word. You have like a poise about you and the way you, I know your morals and the way you see life. And like I said, I don't know you on a deep level, just from what I've seen and what we spoke about so far. Where does that come from? Is that from your studies, or is that something like were you raised in a religious background? Do you identify with a specific religion, or you just have your own way of life?
I think it's a combination. I was raised Mormon, Latter Day Saint. I still practicing. Um, but one of the earliest things that I remember learning was in our studies. We're told to look in the best books. That truth is scattered all over the place. That we don't hold all the truth. We hold our part of the truth, but the whole reality, the whole truth is out there. We got to go out and look for it. And so at a young age, I started searching other religions and philosophy, and you see themes throughout. Whether you study Buddha or Taoism or Christianity, Judaism, it all really comes down to this idea of personal responsibility and that we've been giving, that this whole life thing is a beautiful gift for us to truly learn and understand what all of the ultimate reality is. Because even though we've had and experienced the ultimate reality, we don't really fully understand it until we have that opportunity to act and create ourselves. And so this life is that opportunity to do that. And that we can do, like I said, we can do whatever we want. But when we learn to let go of our own will and give into a higher belief, higher power, then we fully truly to understand what joy is and happiness. And but it's a difficult thing because we're kind of in this dualistic thing where we have wants and needs and desires. We want to eat, we want to have nice houses, and we want to have fancy cars, and we want to promulgate the species with as many as we can, that kind of thing. So we have all those ambitions and desires, but through the study, you just learn that a lot of that stuff, when you focus on yourself and the greed and the lust and all those things, it destroys you. It takes you away from the ultimate reality. When you're replacing worshiping yourself instead of worshiping God, or that we create a God in our own mind that fits our desires. That's something I think a lot of people do, is that they think they're worshiping God, but in reality, they're just worshiping themselves by creating a God that believes what they believe.
Right.
And that's a distraction. That becomes a big problem. And that's why we have a lot of wars over religion, and why that's kind of ruins religion because of that, because of man's desire to make God into their own image versus what should be, which is us trying to learn and understand God and find God's ways, versus us creating our own reality and then saying, okay, this is what God's supposed to be because this is what I think it is. And yeah, that's been my whole pursuit, is trying to find that balance between my desires and my dreams and my hopes, and then finding that ultimate reality and finding that balance and that harmony.
Yeah, there's so many things that are jumping in my head right now, but especially what you said about whether it's Buddhism, the Tao, or Christian, whatever your belief system is. There, I have noticed I feel like everyone's saying different things, but we're saying the same thing. And like I feel like sometimes it's
Oh yeah, we have different nomenclature.
Semantics.
Yeah, we have a different nomenclature. Yeah, semantics. But when it really comes down to it, it's about overcoming your desires, overcoming those passions, and
Is it the ego?
having the control. Yes, it's all about the ego, about destroying the ego, which I like to explain to people. The best way to understand ego is pride. I mean, that really is what ego is it's pride. When you learn to let go of pride, when you learn humility, true humility, and you let go of your own understanding, and uh, find reverence for things that you don't have an understanding of. It's an amazing experience when you let go. It's very freeing.
That's it. You just said
thing,
you just said it. So I apologize. There's a little bit of a lag, so I apologize if I cut you off there. You just said letting go, and I feel like that's what I was correlating. Sorry, my mind's racing because I'm so happy that we're talking right now. There's so many things I want to go through, but I'll be respectful of your time. You just said letting go, and I kind of related that to you were saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said something about giving into a higher power or something of the sort, which I kind of connected to you saying letting go of pride. I feel like there's a connection there too. And then back to the topic, we're still on topic, obviously, but in regards to like the loss that you've experienced, I feel like that all kind of ties in, because when you lose someone, when you feel that pain, and I don't know what pain you felt, because I've always said, even though if I lost my dad and someone else lost their dad, there is a bond there and there's a commonality, maybe a common denominator, but I still will never know what you feel because there's so many other variables of what someone else is going through, where they are in their life,
Sure.
and X, Y, Z. So I don't like saying I understand, because I don't. There's a commonality, but I don't. But I feel like it's so important to let go in any capacity of our life, whether you're dealing with work, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. But when it comes to grief, do you remember, is there anything that stood out to you? Because it seemed like you had a little bit of a cloud following you with death around you growing up. So do you remember any kind of process of working through it, or like, I guess in regards to your innate understanding that this is what it is, but do you recall ever having a process of getting through the grief?
Um, yeah, and most specifically, me and my wife, we lost our youngest child. He was 10 days old. He died from pneumonia, um, and that is, and just a few years before this, I'd lost my father when he was young. When I was 28. Just before my third child was born, he passed away. So he was only 54 himself. So, dealing with that, and then when I lost my son Richmond, or Thad, we called him Thad, but the process is, you go through all of the grief, you go through it, and one thing I've learned when you're going through is just let yourself grieve, just cry your guts out, do whatever you got to do, just feel whatever it is that you need to feel, and don't feel bad about feeling that way. Just let it, just experience it. And a lot of that is, the thought that I've lost something, but the ultimate reality is that I never had it. We don't we, we don't really have things. We get to experience things, but when we try to have ownership and possession of them, that's the illusion of it all, because all of this can be gone very quickly.
Mm.
um, and experiencing that loss of the permanence, because we had children before, and you have the expectations that they're young, they're healthy. You just always have that they're going to be there, that they're going to be there through your whole life, they're going to be a part of your life, and then to have one come in and be there for a short period of time and then gone, it's it's a gut wrenching thing. It's the most grief I've ever experienced.
Yeah, that's
And but some people become bitter because the grief overcomes you so much that you feel like you're never, I mean, really, I understand that feeling of I'll never be happy again. I could never possibly experience joy ever again after having this experience. I mean, I understand that feeling. Um, but when you finally just, instead of being upset about losing, I changed it to gratitude. Of I'm grateful that I had a few days to be with him. Even though I was working a midnight shift, so I was working nights, so I didn't get to spend a lot of time. I only got to hold my son the once at the hospital, and then maybe a couple more times. One time that I was at home, and my wife was working on something, and she brought him in and said, "Hey, can you watch him for a few minutes?" And I got to lie on the bed with him on my chest for a few hours, and it was you know just a beautiful moment. I got to, I love doing that with my kids in their firstborn. You just lay them on your chest, and they're so young, and it was really the only period of time I got to spend with my son. And then a few days later, he passes. And like I said, instead of being upset, I'm grateful. And then I also hold on to that thought that he isn't completely gone, that he's out there. That at some point in time we'll reconnect. And I feel that strongly. I feel that in every fiber of my being, that he's still there. That I feel like he's around. And a lot of it is just, instead of being upset, um, like I said, I like to celebrate that I got to have any time. There's a lot of people in this world who never get to even have a child, who are incapable, who just don't have the opportunity. And I've got to have them. And then it really just comes down to just appreciating what it is for why you have them, I appreciate that love, appreciate that connection. And then as you move on, just knowing that, as I've told other people, the people who pass on don't want you to be miserable,
Yeah.
you know? And so I see it that by being happy, by going on and being happy and experiencing joy and uh, being involved more so with my other children's lives and just giving, I decided instead of being angry and bitter, I'm just going to take the love that I have for him and just give more love to my other kids. I'm going to, and, a lot of times people, when their child passes away, most marriages will fall apart because they hold on to that bitterness and that grief. But for us, it drew us together because we got through it together, and you just move on and you just decide to be happy. And instead of being upset that I'm happy because this terrible thing happened to me, how dare I be happy again? I make that joy part of my celebration of him, that I do move on, and that we continue as a family, we continue as a loving unit, and that we still involve him, we still think about him. When we take a family picture, we got a little teddy bear when he passed away as a gift, and we've kept that teddy bear. And when we have a family photo together, we'll have that teddy bear in the picture with
Love
us
that.
to represent him. And that's something. It's kind of our way of having been there. So it's letting go, but it's holding on to it in just a positive way. Not holding on to the grief and upset and resentment, but holding on to the love and the experience, and just carrying that.
It's so much easier. It's so much easier to stay in that resentment, stay in that anger, than it is to do what you and your family did. You know what I mean? Like to make that conscious.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the obvious choice. Like obviously, I think we all want to be happy and find the blessing in things, but that's the harder, to me, that's the harder path. Like we want to get there, but it's so much easier just to swallow in whatever the hell you're feeling. I hope that's a Budweiser.
Oh no, it's a A&W root beer.
Even better. There you go. I'm gonna reach out to them for sponsorship after this is done. No, but that's like I said, it's so much. You mentioned it already. When you're in the moment, it feels like I'm never going to be happy again. And how the hell am I going to get out of this? So to make that conscious choice, and it's a choice. I always believe being happy. Not always believe. I guess I learned it. Had to learn it. But being happy is a choice, and it is a decision to make. No matter what
Absolutely.
the hell is all this stuff that's going around us is just it's truly external. And I'm still working on it. I don't know. I'm never going to master it, but I'm still working on not letting those external events mess you up. But when you go through what you're going through, that I don't really understand that. I don't understand. I don't know even what to say to not see that as frustration, because we started the conversation saying how you were blessed to have the time with the people that you've lost prior. But when you have hours with your child, the challenge to have that perspective that you had is unfathomable to me, and it's so commendable. And it just makes me think that, I think that's the answer. Not that I have the answer to how to get over things, but if there was one, it's the choice of gratitude. But it's so much easier said than done.
Yeah,
So much easier said than done.
very true. But it's instead of letting it become something that continually depresses and destroys you, you turn it into something that builds you and strengthens you.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this. There's a quote I heard from the show Afterlife that I couldn't get through. I don't know what the hell was going on, but there was one scene in like the first episode that it was a guy doing a monologue, and he was talking about whatever the hell he was going through. You have the choice to see it as suffering, or you have the choice to see it as a lesson. And I think that goes back to what we spoke about with the fortune of misfortune. You have a choice to choose these two paths, but I just wonder what makes someone being able to do it. Because I've seen people close to me that lost someone or going through whatever. It doesn't always have to be loss, and they just collapse and they never found their way out. And even to the end of their life, they passed never getting over it. And I just wonder what that switch is. Is it nature versus nurture? Is it just who they are? Is it what is it that got you to the incredible place to really work through this shit, and then some people just collapse, and then that's it. You know what I mean? It's like that's
Well, it's, you know, yeah, I think it's what it really comes down to is how you've internalized the experience. Because when somebody dies and we love them with all of our heart, it's the person who you love the most, let's say, um, and they die. A lot of times, what happens is we internalize this idea that you can never be happy because by being sad and upset and miserable is your way of continuing to love them. And so you might look at it as, oh, it's destroying them, but in their way, the way they understand it is this is how they show their love for who's passed on, or right, because they feel like they don't deserve to be happy, and that they've surrendered being happy because in their mind, because this is how they're showing their love.
wow.
And I think a lot of people they hold on to that. That's their way of saying I love them, is by continuing to grieve. And so I encourage people to, instead of doing that, why don't you show your love by living a great life, by being happy, by when you go out and experience something happy and you think about them, make them part of your joy. Make that, hey, look, I'm happy and I'm excited. I wish you were here. And in a way, you're part of this. My success is your success. I am what I am because of who you are, because of what you gave to me, because of the love you gave to me. I'm going to go on and become successful and happy, because of my experience with you. And that's a greater way of showing love.
Oh man, yeah. And it's I just said the other day on what my episode that I dropped on Friday. I was thinking if my mom, if and when my mom passed, I was like, and knowing my strong Italian mother that I got, if she passed and I wasn't able to talk to her anymore, and she would tell me, David, like, it's all good, do your thing, be happy, live your life, don't obviously grieve or whatever, but live your life. I know that's what my mom would want. So I didn't really connect the dots as to what you just said. That makes so much sense. How we feel like we don't, like, I feel guilty of being happy, and there comes like a crossroads at some point where you got to kind of let the baggage go. And that's such a beautiful way of it's just such a
Yeah,
beautiful way of putting it. It makes so much sense as to why. I'm sure this.
because they want you to be
Yeah,
happy. They love you. They want you to experience happiness and joy. They don't want to be the cause of your misery. They don't want to see you just spiral into depression and sadness. They want to know that they were a part of your life and they did something good, that they were a strong positive impact, and that you went on to live a great life because they love you. And you don't want them to be miserable and upset, do you?
no.
No, you want them to be happy. They want you to be happy. And the way you make them happy is by being happy, by moving on.
God, it's such a
You're not forgetting. You're not your love for them isn't diminished. In fact, it's growing. It becomes stronger.
yeah. I think that's a correlation too. People think getting happy is forgetting them. And it's like, no, it's couldn't be further from the truth. Literally what you just said.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Especially if you're, with your mother, has probably given you great advice throughout your life and has always been very comforting and supportive. And that's going to be with you. She might physically be gone, but that spirit, that understanding and that connection, that will always be there. That will always be with you. And when you continue to connect with that, it's like when I think about my own father, I'm often reminded, he was a mechanic. He was a diesel mechanic. He worked on cars, built race cars. And it's kind of fun because every time I work on a car, I feel like I'm reconnecting with my dad, you know, and I enjoy it. I enjoy, even though whether it's frustrating a lot of times working in cars and make mistakes, and sometimes you go through everything, it doesn't work. I mean, it's frustrating, but I still remember, that the things he taught me how to work on a car, and the lessons he gave me, they always pop into my head. They're always there. So I feel like I still have that. Like he's still there. He's part of me. He's part of my whole experience, and I love that. You know, and when we see those who've passed on and we make them a part of us, remember what we went through, go through those experiences, and just there's just so much love and just so much joy to experience in this life. Why let all these things get you down? Because it's all temporary. None of this is going to last forever. Um,
It's all temporary, and they said that the echoes of memory. That's what really lasts, and that's why I think it's important to talk about the people we lost. I've even you hear people sometimes, oh, I don't even want to talk about it because the pain's still there, and sometimes I think that's a good gauge. I think
yeah,
that's a good gauge of sometimes where people are in their healing process, if you will. Like if their name gets brought up, if it doesn't bring up smiles or happy tears or something like that, I think that's kind of like a radar of
yeah,
where you are in your process. Because now it's been 22 years since 9/11, so it's like I'm in a much different place. I can make sick dark jokes like I usually do and think of my dad and I get sad still, but like I'll still, it's a different reaction and how you remember people, and those memories until I go senile, those memories are all we have,
yeah,
you know? So
yeah, yeah. I like to when I talk to people who are experiencing, you're going through grief and such. Your reaction is when you hear somebody's died. Your first reaction is, "Oh, how did they die?"
yeah.
That's almost always your first reaction. Well, how did it happen? What go, And I stopped asking people that. I stopped caring. I figure at some point in time I'll know, and really it's not important to me. So instead, I like to say, "That's unfortunate." Well, what's your favorite memory of them?
I love that.
What is it that when you think about your dad or your grandpa, or your wife, whoever's passed on, your sister, whatever. What's your happiest memory of them? I mean, what is it when you think of them? What's the moment you go back to? And it's fun because you see them just for a moment, they stop grieving because now they're remembering something great. And I love being able to do that to help somebody reconnect with the joy that they had in their life. you know, and or I'll ask, what was probably one of the most important things they ever said to you?
That's so good.
What's ask those kinds of things. Ask about their life. Ask about what they had, not how they died. How they died, that's not a part of who that person
Right.
is. It doesn't matter. But how did they live? That's what you focus on, and that helps people more than anything else. You'll see them just sort of have that moment of, oh, I mean, I've seen people completely wrecked, and then I'll say, well, what's your favorite memory? Did they ever give you something, a gift? What was the favorite gift they ever gave you? Do you still have it? Those kinds of things. And you can see people just kind of start kind of getting out of their funk.
That's so simple.
Yeah.
Yet I've only been around for 33 years and counting, but that I've never even thought of that. I'm kind of pissed off that I didn't even think of that. That's like such an easy shift of perspective, and I think that correlates and sets the stance for how I think you live life, what it seems like, and setting the tone for that person. I feel like a simple question like that, which, like you said, you've seen, can set the tone for how they continue on the journey after seeing you. You know, like that simple perspective shift is really what it is, and it seems like that's how you've accomplished a lot of what you've had to go through in life. Is just a perspective shift, and I really believe it's that simple, but it's just actually doing it.
Oh, it really is. It really is. It all, people who go through years and years of counseling to overcome their past traumas and stuff. I like to ask them, so at one point in time, you're hoping where you're going through all your therapy that you're going to have that breakthrough moment that's going to make it all right for you, right? That's what you're going for. Yeah, yeah, okay. What is that moment? What is it that you're going to experience in that moment that's going to change everything for you?
Are you asking me? Or is that rhetorical?
And as they
Sorry.
start, well, this is
Okay.
rhetorical. And you'll see as people start thinking about it, they start going through all the trauma and everything, and they almost always come to the same conclusion. Well, I just decide it doesn't hurt anymore, or it comes to a decision that they make that they're going to move on, that they've worked it through. And then I say, well, what's stopping you from just doing that now? And when you put it that way, I realize it really is a single moment where it all changes. Well, if you don't know what that moment is, maybe that's your problem. If you decide what that moment is, as soon as you decide what that moment is, guess what? You just had it.
We have so much more power than we think. Like we
Oh,
also
absolutely.
have we have I don't know, we have so much more power than we think, and it's all right here. And it's like cliche, yes, I know, kind of woo woo, whatever, but we have so much more power than we think, and I'm still figuring this shit out. But I in my head, I feel like it's literally just a snap of the finger. I feel like, I don't know if it was Bob Proctor that I heard or someone said it's like fear and flip it. And I feel like that's what you did with that question when you see someone grieving. Instead of asking, oh, how did they die? You just flip it to the opposite and more happy side. Just asking a positive question and get her. Like, I feel like our brain is like Yahoo or like a Google search engine. You start asking questions, your brain starts immediately searching for the answers to that question. So ask a positive question. I'm going off a weird tangent right now, but I think what you just said is I don't know, it's so eye opening. I made this podcast thinking it would help other people, then I realized selfishly this podcast helped me. So you're solving my life. You're solving my life problems right now. So I want to thank you, Rodney. Listen, I feel like I feel like we can go on for like 9 more hours. So maybe one day we can. I don't know. I do what I want in this podcast, and if we could find another time to maybe do this again, that'd be amazing. But before I let you go, where are you with death? Do you have any fear of it at this point, or are you just?
Well, there's certainly a lot more that I want to do with my life, and I'm a lot of that's just watching my kids grow up, and spending more time with my wife and others. But no, I don't fear it at all. When it comes, it comes. I'm not. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not. I don't think it's anything to be afraid of.
Yeah.
I just want to live every day that I've got and be grateful for it and just enjoy it while I'm here.
What else can we do? What else can we do except do that and do podcasts? Rodney, thank you so much for it's like I said, I don't want to make your head too big, but it's truly an honor. It's so cool to actually like, I wish I could shake your hand, but it's so cool to do it this way and just have an opportunity to talk to someone who it's just it's cool to see someone with your perspective and the way you bring in the humor, because a big part of my coping mechanism for anything in life is humor. And you just do it so naturally. And it seems like you're a very smart man. So I think you know exactly what you're doing and your strategy. But it's like, it's so, I don't know, it's just so well done. I think it's such a great way of giving people real life lessons, real deep insight that what you believe is true. And I think is a great perspective. And mixing that with humor to like almost lighten it is just, I don't know. In my head, that's the perfect combination. So I commend you for what you're doing. I can't wait to see more and more of what you do. And I just truly want to thank you for the time to being on this podcast. It means a lot.
Well, thank you. It's been a delightful conversation and a privilege.
Of course.
Thank you.
So guys, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Dead Talks. And before we go, is there anything you want to drop? Like I don't know if there's anything, plug yourself. I know people know you already, but if you want to like give yourself a little shake.
Oh, just RodneyNorman.com. Or just Google Rodney Norman. I'm the most famous Rodney Norman that's ever existed. So
I love that. All right.
I got that going.
You got a lot going. You're a legend in my eyes. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dead Talks. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell. That'll give you updates as to when we post a new video, more episodes, and more content in general. We are streaming on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and all that. And also find us on Instagram at Dead Talks Podcast or www.deadtalks.net. Thank you so much.